Hello and welcome to the Fuel, Run, Recover podcast, helping everyday runners fuel better, run smarter, and recover faster so you can reach your full performance potential. I'm your host, Stephanie Natchek, dietitian, fitness coach, and a fellow runner too. As the owner of Stephanie Natchek Performance Nutrition, I've spent the last 10 years helping runners learn to fuel their bodies, level up their running performance, and establish healthier relationships with food and exercise. If you're ready to reconnect with your love of running, then let's get started on today's episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Fuel, Run, Recover podcast, where I am very excited to be sitting down with one of my Fuel, Train, Recover Club participants. Her name is Wendy, and she is joining us as a new runner who just got into running earlier this year, but already has a impressive number of races under her belt she can tell you about today, and is you can find her under the Instagram name This Winnipeg WPG Mom Can Run. So thanks so much for joining me, Wendy, and welcome to the show.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having me. This is very new to me, so bear with me.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody's always so nervous to get on, but I think once you remember that this is not live and everything is editable and it's all good, then we can
Exactly.
relax a bit and have a conversation. So I know one of the big reasons why I invited you to come and be a guest on the show was because you just have such a great story of just, kind of reaching out to me one day via email just to ask some questions about my online program to see if it would work for you as someone who was just kind of kicking the tires about getting into running. But tell us a little bit about yourself and how you decided to get into running. And what kind of sparked your interest earlier this year? Or maybe it was before that. Just, tell us your running origin story.
Yeah, so I am definitely new to running. I only started in January of this year. Kind of had a goal, I guess, in the back of my mind that I wanted to, start running a 5K. So I signed up for the Manitoba Marathon 5K. And I had the Peloton app on my phone, and we have a treadmill at home. So I started running on that, but I just wasn't really, going anywhere. It didn't feel like I could easily do a 5K. So I that's when I kind of saw you on Instagram and reached out to you and, went from there, like followed your training program and felt so much more confident and felt good about going into that 5K, knowing that I had trained and, I could do the runs in my neighborhood prior to doing that first 5K. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I think the reason I got into running, it's just mainly because like my family has a history of like heart disease.
Mm.
We lost a brother back in 2020 to a massive heart attack, and more recently, my sister suffered a heart attack as well. Thankfully, she got the treatment she needed, and she's still with us. But just knowing that runs in the family, I kind of wanted to take some steps to lead a healthier lifestyle, become more active. I sit at a desk for 8 hours of the day, and I was just being, inactive. So decided to pick up running. I thought, oh, it's easy enough, right? Everyone has a pair of running shoes and some shorts, and you just go out, run around the neighborhood. Well, boy, was I wrong. But yeah, and just noticing the improvements, like in my health and even like mental health, getting out there and running just, made me happier and, less maybe less crabby or irritable, and just yeah, just a happier person getting outside, getting that sunshine and moving your body.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I love that, helping you feel better sort of mentally and physically and all of those benefits that you've seen the last, almost a year now since you started running. But also something else that I really, really like about your journey so far is, I mean, you've been making goals for yourself and sticking to them and seeing them
Hmm.
through. And you've had, a number of really great accomplishments this year. But also that you've given yourself enough time, like a
Hmm.
great amount of time in order to actually reach those goals. Like what I would consider as someone who is, have, if, let's say you haven't run a step since you were forced to as a kid.
Hmm.
To
Yeah.
give yourself almost 6 months or 5 or 6 months in order to get ready for that first 5K. I just think that you were so much better set up to do that and to achieve that without getting injured, without getting burnt out, without plateauing along the way, because it was just about slowly building up that strength and fitness.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, like, I'm in my 40s and I probably haven't run since I was in elementary school.
Yeah.
So I definitely needed that slower intro, I guess, into running. I definitely didn't want to get out there and injure myself or, go so hard that I just felt, gross or it was just too tough and I wouldn't come back to it.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my I don't know, motto, I guess, take it slow and slow and steady.
Yeah, yeah, I love that so much. It's funny, just earlier today, these podcast episodes will be coming out, not at the same time, but the day that we're recording this, earlier this same day, I had recorded an episode with Ali Marty, who her area of expertise, she works with runners who do the Disney races, and just there's a
Oh,
lot
okay.
of like new runners who do those types of Disney run events or run Disney events. And so a big part of our conversation was about some of these mistakes and some of the challenges that new runners encounter when they set these really ambitious goals of doing like the Disney marathon weekend or some of the multi-day events and those sorts of things, despite having, no running history, right? No
Mm.
background of the fitness or the strength or the endurance that's required in order to pull these things off. So to sort of come from that and then talk to you where you gave yourself so much time to get ready for that first 5K. Like, I just think that's why you've had such a great year and have been so successful, is again, just giving yourself enough time. So, anybody who's listening, this is your number one. I want you to write this down. This is your number one takeaway. Give yourself lots of
For
time
sure.
when you are building up your running endurance for the first time. So, we kind of alluded to talked a little bit about your first 5K that you ran, but you've done a couple of other races throughout this year. So tell us about those. What are some of the favorites that you've done, and yeah, what happened the rest of the year after that first 5K?
Yeah, so I would say my favorite would have been that Manitoba Marathon, my first 5K ever, just because, it was my first, right?
Yeah.
And like the atmosphere there and the energy, it was just, you know, fantastic. Like running into the stadium and having the crowds cheer you
Yeah.
on and to like cross that finish line, it's like, oh my God, like I can't believe I did it. It was just, definitely a core memory and just something like I'll always like cherish.
Yeah.
Um, After that one, I did the Winnipeg 10 and 10, and that was another 5K. That one, my watch wasn't really working, and I didn't really know my pace, I guess you could say. It felt like a really hard run, and I got done, and I think my watch had said it took me, I don't know, like 30 some minutes, which seemed a bit longer than what I had been running around the neighborhood. But then surprisingly, I got an email a couple weeks ago saying that I was second place in my age category. So that was a huge surprise to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But honestly, it felt 10 times harder than the Manitoba Marathon 5K. I think because I was going too fast for the first couple of kilometers
Mm-hmm.
and I couldn't maintain it, right?
Yep.
So yeah, that was a shock that I got like second place in my age category, but it was, I guess a nice little accomplishment.
Yeah. No kidding.
um, and then after that, I did the WFPS 10K, and that was my first 10K, and absolutely loved that race as well. It was great weather, and again, the crowds were fantastic, and I felt so good after that run. Like I wasn't tired. I felt like I could go on for a couple more kilometers. Very happy with my time again, and yeah, just I loved everything about that race too.
Yeah,
And
it was
then
also such a
my most recent,
beautiful day for like that particular
it
one. I've
was,
actually done that
yeah.
race a number of times, and I don't think I've ever run it not in the snow. So
Oh,
to have it like be such a gorgeous October morning, like I think we all felt a little
yeah.
bit of that race day magic for this particular one.
Yeah, it was great. Like definitely, loved it and yeah, want to sign up for it again next year.
Yeah.
And then I did the Frightening Fiver a couple weeks ago at Fort White, and that was just another little fun run. I took my husband with me, and we had a great time, and yeah, really enjoyed it.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. So lots of really great experiences this year. couple of,
Yeah.
challenging experiences, but I think that like this whole sort of conversation around pacing and the art of pacing properly. I mean, how many times have you heard other runners say, I went out too fast. Oh, I went out too fast. My big mistake was I went out too fast.
Hmm.
Like we've all been there, we've all done it, and even people with a ton of experience still do it. So it's just one of those things that we just have to
Good
like
to know.
get more practice, and eventually we'll kind of figure out the whole pacing thing. But you even see like Olympic athletes, right? I mean, we all watch the Olympic running over the summer, and
Yeah,
even then you see people just, get out there, get a really solid lead, and they just can't maintain it, right? So yeah,
exactly.
but
Yeah.
it's great that you got into it, went about it in such a way that it's made it to be a very sustainable activity for you. I see so many runners
Hmm.
who they get very ambitious with their, they've never run a step since middle school, and they sign up for a marathon. And I mean the time and the energy and the gruelingness of that first marathon training cycle, especially if you've given yourself maybe only 4 to 6 months to prepare for it, you're going to hate running, or you're probably going to hate running
Right.
by the end of that. So to have such a great year, to do lots of races and to enjoy all of them, and continue to see your endurance and everything improve over that time, really, again, like you said, makes it just a lifelong activity for you, something that you'll
Hmm.
you'll want to stick with. So you mentioned that you had started out when you first decided that you wanted to run. You were using a Peloton program, and you felt like it wasn't really quite doing what you needed to do. So tell us a little bit more about where you got stuck with that. Like, what was it about that approach that wasn't really getting you and where you wanted to go? And at what point did you decide that you maybe needed to work with someone else on your running?
Yeah, so I was kind of just doing like different little runs, I guess, on the Peloton app, but it didn't seem like I was, getting up to the 5K, mark that I wanted to be able
Mm-hmm.
to do. So, yeah, I just felt like I wasn't progressing, didn't feel ready for the 5K that I had signed up for. So I figured, okay, like I need to get like a training program and I need to get some help.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's when I reached out to you and yeah, started going through your fuel train recovery program and learned so much from that. And then just started, asking you questions with like little things here and there. And yeah, it's just been a wealth of knowledge. Like for someone new to running, it just provided me with everything that I kind of needed to know and all in one place and like easy to understand. So thank you for putting that together and making it available. Like honestly, I yeah, I probably wouldn't still be into running if, I hadn't stumbled across you and found this information. So
Oh, that's fantastic. I love
yeah.
to hear that. So, on that note, actually, what were some of the like biggest lessons or sort of most impactful things that you've learned in this past year?
Yeah, well, fueling for one. I would never eat before my workouts. Like I would just wake up, get my work clothes on and, go out for a run or
Yeah.
whatever. And halfway through the run, kind of just run out of energy or
Hmm.
when you get back home just kind of feel really tired and crappy and yeah, I'd say that's the most important thing I learned from you is, fuel your body like before your exercise and yeah, like, even just starting with a toast, like you had suggested, just to get your stomach used to having food and like working out and yeah, like I couldn't believe, how good I felt like during the runs and afterwards, like just by having a toast before I started working out. So I'd say that was the biggest thing I learned. And then the strength training as well, that was another area I didn't know anything about and hadn't even, thought about doing that. So yeah, working that or following that training plan, with the runs and the strength training. Yeah, I definitely see the benefits of it as well.
Absolutely. And I think like, for yourself, like in your specific situation where we went from that 5K and then to that 10K. Yeah, you know what? For some of those workouts for the 5K, I mean, it's fantastic that you noticed a difference in your energy levels and you noticed a difference in the quality of your workouts just by incorporating some of those basic fueling strategies. But some people, if they're going out for like a 30-minute run or something like that, they may do that without fuel and get away with it. Like they might do okay. Could they do better if they had some fuel beforehand? I 100% believe
Right.
that to be the case, but that,
Yeah.
it's fine. But when you started to progress, and I know because we had a conversation about this via email, but when you started to get into those longer distances preparing for your 10K, then all of a sudden it was like, okay, some of these running fasted and not fueling before your workouts, that sort of thing, you start to really not be able to get away with that anymore. So it's great that you picked it up really early on and picked it up right in the beginning, because now as you go
Mhm.
through, we're going to talk about what's coming up next for you and talk about some of the goals and things that you're going to work towards next year. It's just part of that routine and part of that
Yeah,
habit,
exactly.
and it just becomes more and more important the bigger the distances that you do.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And yeah, like going into the 10K again, I had to reach out to you to find out, what's the fueling strategy. And yeah, something as simple as even just the gummy bears, right? And just practicing, eating them on your weekly run or whatnot, and getting used to that. Like, that was just another great tip for me, like something I hadn't considered before, right? Because I had just been doing the 5Ks. So, yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, you had some great results in terms of being able to train for and finish these races and accomplish these goals that you've set for yourself along the way, running wise. But are there any other results that you were really excited about? Like any other, things that you just sort of weren't expecting in this whole process?
Well, like I was just floored by my 10K result of, you know, some people will say it's long or whatnot, but I was so happy with that hour and 14 minutes. Like
Yeah.
I didn't even think I could humanly do that. Because when I had been, training like around the neighborhood type thing, that for that first and only 10K I had done, it took me like close to an hour and 20. So like, to shave off that 6 minutes, I was just so proud of myself. Like,
Yeah.
wow, I can do this, right? So yeah, that was something huge for me, and still, very proud of that. So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. And this is the thing, like, and I love that you mentioned that, some people might not see that as a great time. And, we're not out here breaking any world records or anything like that. But I mean, such a small, small, small percentage of runners are at that level. Like, to me,
exactly.
it's cool to sort of watch them and see what they're doing, and to sort of appreciate what human beings can do in the running world. But I mean, the rest of us are just competing with ourselves. So for you
Hmm.
to run that 10K 6 minutes faster than what you were doing in training, I mean, that just is a great race day strategy, right? Don't race your workout, save it for the actual day of the event, and to walk
Yeah.
away feeling really proud of that accomplishment. It just will continue to come as you continue to build on your running strength. So that's really exciting.
Hmm.
Was there anything, or I guess there probably is, since you were sort of new to this whole thing to begin with, but what was the most surprising thing that you learned along the way? Or what was something that you started doing differently that you just like really wouldn't have expected to happen? If you were talking to January 2024 Wendy, what's something that would have like totally blown her socks off?
Well, yeah, like just this whole strength training, like I said, that's completely new to me, and like the importance of it, and how it, just helps out your overall like running. Like I just, yeah, I feel completely clueless to that whole area, and you know, once I saw it in the training program, like yeah, it's all kind of clicking and making sense, and just understand why we need to do that, and yeah, the importance of it. So I would say the strength training
Yeah.
aspect.
Okay, okay, that's
Yeah.
really interesting. And so prior to you starting and picking up your running journey, you weren't you were not doing any strength training prior to that and really didn't expect that to be part of this whole
No,
process.
exactly. No, yeah, that was just completely new to me. And I guess the other thing that was, kind of mind blowing was the slow down. Like,
Okay.
um, I think I would try to just, you know, go out and run as hard as I could, but only last a couple of minutes. And then
Yeah.
it's like, oh, why can't I run longer and farther?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like, okay, no, just slow down and, you know, build your base or whatever,
Yeah.
and yeah, like trust the process.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. That is such a good lesson. And I think one that a lot of people spend a lot of time or take a lot of time to learn and go through a lot of, I'll say, pain and suffering and hardship as runners
For
before they
sure.
really kind of internalize that message of slowing down and taking the time to build that base. Because you're right. Like if you say, you're going to try to run your first 5K. At this point in time, you cannot run 5K, right? You can't, you've never done it before. You
No.
you can't do it.
Exactly.
So you go out and you just try to run as far as you can, as fast as you can. Well, guess what? You are not going to make that much progress on getting closer and
No.
closer and closer to
Exactly.
running a 5K by just going out there and running as far as you can, as fast as you can every time. And I've worked with people, I've talked to people who have had that approach, and they're so frustrated with why they're not improving their endurance. Like
Hmm.
they can run 2 miles, and then at 2 miles they can't take another step. They have
Hmm.
to stop or slow down or whatever. But then the next time they go back, they same pace, same whatever. They make it 2 miles and they're just not getting any further. And it's amazing how when we slow down, like how long we can
Hmm.
actually run for when we slow down. It's
Exactly.
amazing.
Yeah.
But then also how much endurance you can build in a couple months' time. Um, did you, for the
Hmm.
5K or the 10K, did you incorporate any walk breaks or did you run both of those distances?
So the 5K, I would say I only took one walk break and it was probably for like 2 minutes.
Yep.
So, I was happy with that. And then the 10K, yes, I had to take probably three walk breaks, and that was just so I could have water
Yeah.
and the gummy
Yeah.
bears. So,
Yeah.
yeah, and I guess that's like a whole other mental challenge to get used to. Like, yes, I can call myself a runner, even though, I take those walk breaks. Like, I think that's normal. Like,
Yes,
I don't know, I
it
think there's
is.
that stigma, right,
I-
attached to it still. Like, oh, you can't call yourself a runner. You're not a runner because you took a break. But you know what?
no, you
You're a runner no matter what.
exactly, exactly. And I mean, that's like something that, everybody listening to this episode, like if you take walk breaks when you need them, or if a planned run walk strategy is like what you're doing for your race, both of those are 100% valid, good options. And you are still a runner. You are still a runner, right?
Mhm.
If you run even part of that race and walk a bunch and whatever, you're still a runner because like we don't want to gatekeep here. We don't want to exclude people here. And like at what point, how far, how much, how fast do you have to run to be called a runner? Well, any of it. It all counts. And it doesn't matter if
Exactly.
you're, injured, taking time off because, you just had a baby or you're doing something else or whatever. Like don't feel weird about calling yourself a runner because we all belong here. It doesn't matter. Any of those variables are
Yeah,
just, we
exactly.
got to get that out of our mindset, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, okay. So if somebody's listening to this episode and they're kind of in a situation where you were at last year, maybe they've signed up for that first race. Maybe they have yet to do so, but they're kind of thinking about signing up for a race. They have not run in decades and, are kind of where you were at in January of last year. What advice would you have for these, aspirational or wannabe runners?
Yeah, I would just say, believe in yourself and go for it. Like sign up for that race. If you're not sure where to go and feeling a bit overwhelmed, go ahead and reach out to a coach like Stephanie. You provided me with so much information and just yeah, like a training plan that was doable and took all the guesswork out of it. I think we just have to believe in ourselves that we can, achieve that goal that we set out for ourselves, and just take that step, that first step of signing up for whatever it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And just like, yeah, I mean, even if you have not run in a long time or have never run before or whatever is going on, like if you want to do this, like if you internally have that motivation and that drive, and you are motivated to take up the sport of running, then yeah, believe in yourself. Because if you give yourself enough,
Exactly.
if you have enough time and you have enough patience to do things the right way, you can achieve and accomplish absolutely anything. You can go from not
Mhm.
running to running marathons. All you need is enough time and the right approach to training in order to get there. It's when we rush, it's when we do things that wind up getting us injured. It's when we don't think about
Mhm.
strength training or fueling or, all training for the level that we're at, all of those things. That's when we are not able to accomplish our goals. But when we, take it step by step, and have that slow and steady approach, I mean, look what you can do.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like I said before, like slow and steady, that was my motto, I guess.
Yeah.
And yeah, like it's proven me well. Like I'm enjoying running. I haven't had any major injuries. I look forward to signing up for different races and completing them. So yeah.
Yeah, amazing. And so I kind of alluded to this earlier, and we were talking about this before we started recording about how we're going to tackle the next phase of training for you. So tell us what's maybe coming up next. I don't know if you've registered or not. I don't know if registration is open yet or not for that race, but
Yeah, I'm not sure.
okay. So maybe it's not even open yet. So
Um,
this is not set in stone. But tell us what's
right, for
coming up for
sure.
you.
Yeah, no, I'd like to do the full marathon at the Manitoba Marathon next year. So, yeah, hopefully start the training plan for that and see how it goes. Yeah, that's the goal, I guess, for next year.
I love it. I love it. Well, if you can dream it, you can do it, right? That's what we've learned this year.
Exactly.
And you have my full support and belief that you can accomplish whatever you can put your mind to.
Thanks.
All right. Well, is there anything else you want to share? And, any kind of last pieces of advice or tips or things that you want our listeners to know? And then tell us where people can follow you on Instagram and tag along for your running journey.
Yeah, like I said before, just believe in yourself and you're capable of doing great things. Like sign up for that race or do something that scares you. Like just do it. I think we put these um roadblocks in front of us, and we're our own worst critics type thing. So don't don't be afraid, just go and do it. Don't hesitate to reach out to Steph. She has a great program. Like I said, I wouldn't be here without you. And yeah, I've really enjoyed this running journey so far. I hope to keep doing it. You can follow me along on Instagram at this Winnipeg WPG Mom Can Run.
All right. Well, this Winnipeg mom can run, and she's showing us how she does every single day. And I cannot wait to see how you do at the Manitoba Marathon next year. I will definitely be cheering you on and rooting for you. Thank you so much,
Awesome.
Wendy, for taking time out of your schedule, out of your busy day to join me for this episode. I know that so many people are going to resonate with your story, and just so kind of relatable to people who kind of have those aspirations of becoming runners and taking up running for the first time. So I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story and your advice, and can't wait to see what you do next.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for having me.
All right. That's it for this week's episode of the Fuel, Run, Recover podcast. And we will catch you right back here for next week's episode. Bye for now. The information on this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not to be used or relied upon for the diagnosis or treatment of any health condition. This information does not create a client-practitioner relationship and should not be used as a substitute for professional medical advice.